Renowned for being a letdown in big games, losing on final match days, and always coming up short, Borussia Dortmund has been second fiddle in the Bundesliga for over a decade now. Constantly coming second behind the juggernauts, Bayern Munich, their last decade can only be summed up by the word disappointment. But can this upcoming season be different for the Schwarzgelben? The Bundesliga is the weakest it has been in a long time, with teams like Bayer Leverkusen, RB Leipzig, Eintracht Frankfurt, and VfB Stuttgart having been disassembled in recent years. Moreover, big-profile players have left the league like Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, Omar Marmoush, and Nick Woltemade may even be on the move. Based on the performances of last season, this would leave practically everyone to believe that Bayern Munich will win comfortably again. However, I disagree. Although the league definitely has gotten substantially weaker, Bayern aren't the only contender left. Based on what we saw in the second half of last season, Borussia Dortmund, under head coach Niko Kovac, displayed that they have the tenacity and talent to win the Bundesliga. There are multiple reasons why I argue that Dortmund will end their 13-year drought and will once again lift up the Meisterschale, crowning them as champions of Germany once again. Firstly, they are a completely different team under Niko Kovac than they were to start the season under Nuri Sahin. Once Kovac was appointed, they went 12-4 in the Bundesliga, along with impressive performances in the Champions League against Sporting, Lille, and in the second leg against Barcelona. Dortmund even went the last 9 games of the season unbeaten, winning 8 and drawing 1. The reason behind this drastic turn in results was the change in play style and structure. In their long and rich history, Borussia Dortmund has always been a team that was most dangerous in transition, playing direct and hitting teams on the break. However, former head coach Nuri Sahin wanted to play a different style to start the season. He urged his team to control games and dominate possession, but that was doomed from the start. He was demanding players like Waldemar Anton, Niklas Süle, and Gregor Kobel, who are not good on the ball, to pass across the backline when faced with a high press, instead of playing it directly to the front line. This was the main reason why Dortmund were so bad defensively, conceding 1.7 goals per game. Niko Kovac, however, went back to the club's roots. He insisted on a complete tactical overhaul and urged his players to play more direct and on the break. The defensive line was a lot more aggressive, and they no longer shied away from important tackles and challenges. They would press with intensity and win the ball back in good areas, which also led to an increased output offensively. Due to this improved defensive structure, they could now attack the opposition in transition. This led to them scoring 26 goals in their last 8 games, around 3.3 a game on average. Their ball retention and possession dropped, but they became a lot sharper and more clinical. They were more dangerous through incisive counters than just having meaningless possession. Besides a switch in play style, Kovac also changed Dortmund's formation. Due to the unstable defense and midfield, he opted to go for a back 3 formation. Having an extra center back in their defensive line reinforced security and brought more stability in the back, while also allowing their wingbacks to attack without reservation. Off the ball, the midfield and wingbacks would drop deep, supporting the center backs, which made them a defensive unit that was difficult to penetrate. On the ball, every player, besides the center backs, would fly forward in transition, which is how they scored most of their goals. They emphasized the importance of tracking and defending in transition to eliminate costly counterattacks. His emphasis on this type of structural discipline and defend first, then attack mentality is what improved their previous horrendous defensive rating to only conceding 1.2 goals per game. Secondly, I believe that many of Dortmund's young core will improve drastically this season. Players like Felix Nemika, who had his breakout season last year, will only become more comfortable in his new deep-lying midfielder role. At Wolfsburg, he was a player who liked to push forward and initiate attacks, but under Kovac, he completely transformed. Nemika is now a composed 6 who can pick up the ball from the center backs and either elegantly escape the high press, distributing the ball to the attackers, or play quick combinations with those around him before progressing the ball. I also believe we will see further development from both of Dortmund's wingbacks, Daniel Svensson and Jan Kuto. Svensson is an absolute engine that never stops running. And his deliveries into the box were so impressive that he has even been put on set-piece duty. Yan Kudo is a different case as he was not consistent last season, having a dip in form from his time at Girona, where he was sensational. However, this is most likely just because he hadn't settled in the Bundesliga yet. Kovac even said in a recent interview that Kudo's fitness has monumentally improved and he now better understands what Kovac wants from him defensively. Nobody doubts what he can do on the offensive side of the ball, dribbling past players and creating chances from the wing. But if he improves his understanding of his role defensively in Dortmund's new structure, then he has the potential to be one of the best wingbacks in Europe. A big problem for Dortmund last year as well was the lack of athleticism in the midfield. Nmecha's starting spot is secured, but Kovac constantly switched up his midfield partner in the double pivot. Pascal Gross was often too slow, and Marcel Sabitzer was constantly out for long-term injuries. However, Dortmund just signed Job Bellingham, who can potentially fix that problem. Job, like his brother, displayed his elite physicality and work rate in the championship last season. He is quick, tracks back in defensive transition, strong on the ball, and can even arrive late into the box to score a goal. He is the epitome of a box-to-box midfielder and can take Dortmund to the next level. Moreover, I have no doubt that Serhou Guirassy will continue his clinical goal-scoring form. He scored 38 goals and provided 9 assists last season in all competitions, while even being the Champions League's top scorer. There are no worries about him as he is truly a world-class goal scorer, but what about those around him in the attack? Karim Adeyemi completely broke out under Niko Kovac, as he thrives in transition football. He was recorded to run at the speed of 22.7 miles per hour, which is the second fastest in the Bundesliga and the fourth fastest in last year's Champions League. In Dortmund's direct transition style of football, Adeyemi is constantly making dangerous runs in behind the defense. This led to him producing 8 goals and assists combined in his last 10 games. Maximilian Bayer will also continue to develop as he can play in any position across the front three. His versatility allows Kovac to either run a front two alongside Guirassy or play him as one of the 2 inside 10s just behind the Guinean striker. His raw pace and positional intelligence will no doubt be on full display next year as he will fight to be a part of Germany's World Cup 2026 squad. Lastly, the biggest key to Dortmund's chances at winning the Bundesliga next season is no doubt the form of Julian Brandt. He is quite truly an X-factor as you never know what version you will get from him each season. He may potentially be the most polarizing player in Europe, as he will sometimes play like he did last season, where he was lazy, unimaginative on the ball, predictable, and lacking any sort of spark. But he may also have seasons like those between 2022 and 2024, where he was nothing short of magical. Brandt has had performances where he completely controlled and dominated the match, like against Chelsea in the first leg of the Champions League round of 16, or his unforgettable Champions League campaign in 2023-24 when he was man of the match in games against Newcastle, Atletico Madrid, and PSG, leading Borussia Dortmund to the final that year. He is unquestionably Dortmund's most talented player, to the point where he had BVB fans naming him the heir to Marco Reus and was even given the captain's armband. With this being Brandt's final year on his current contract, along with his hope for a renewal at the club, I predict he will have his greatest season in his career to date. At the peak of his powers, Julian Brandt is one of the best chance creators and playmakers in European football. Therefore, if he can bring this form into next season, then Borussia Dortmund can definitely win the Bundesliga and become German champions again. If you like this type of football content, please like and subscribe.